And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. My name's Digital Dragon. It's been a while since I've seen everybody. Apologize for that. But welcome on in. Those of you that are on Twitch and YouTube, hope everyone's doing well. So tonight we're going to be working on the Abitnutz RatRig 4.1. So this is a 400 size RatRig V-Core 4.1, heavily modified. We've got custom lower deck panels instead of steel. They went with some aluminum plate. We've got the Z pillow blocks from Mandala Roseworks, the Z bed mounts from Mandala Roseworks, motor mounts from Mandala, XY joiners from Mandala, tube hot end setups from Mandala Roseworks, and much more. An N2O build plate that I believe is like 10 millimeters thick. So lots of add-ons to this. I've been working off the stream on this as I've got time around other projects here in the shop, either from working on printers that are coming back for repairs to RMA printers that Kitty is sending me to take a look at, to just customer projects and things like that. Hey, Eagle of Dragon, how's it going? Hope you're doing good. We'll talk about that another time, Eagle, not here on stream. So yeah, we've started up at this point wiring wise on the tool head. So on the tool head, we've went with tube hot ends from Luke's Laboratory. One's already set up with a 0.4 CHT nozzle and the titanium shield at the bottom end of the tube. The other one, I'm still waiting on an order to come in from KB3D. Should be here. I was going to be here today, maybe here tomorrow. I bought two 0.4 CHT nozzles. So I'll get one in and I'll have a spare in case something goes on. And then I'll get that installed and get the other titanium heat shield on the other tube. The LGX extruders have been mounted, as well as the O2S boards. So as part of the RatRig 4.1 update, they switched from the standard EBB 42 boards that are CAN bus over to the O2S boards, which I believe are USB. The LDO OTOS boards, and I'm having to. I had to find a mount and slightly modify the mount. I think I've got. Yeah, so these are the standard mount style. It comes in the 4.1 files, and this will mount your board. However, it is designed to screw in at the bottom as well as at this point here. The problem is all of these hole patterns are for a Orbiter 2.5, and the motor mounts on, it uses the same style motor, the NEMA 17 pancake motor, or excuse me, the round pancake motors, but it's clocked at a different position when it mounts to the back of the LGX. So we went and we found this style. Now on this style, this top hole mounts through the board and to the top right of the LGX. This hole mounts to the the lower right side of the LGX. This gets an M3 heat set insert, and this is the lower mount of the board. So this is the board, this mount through a 20 millimeter standoff into the back. This one is the lower end of the board into this mount. This one is a standoff into the LGX, which means this is actually designed to mount at the bottom because this is designed for a different printer. So I had to go in and slice this section off here to make this mount work. Long story short, the mount worked and it's all in. How's it going, Pete? How are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. Sorry for my rather long explanation there. Other than that, I did swap a tube out. So if Abitnutz is listening in or watches this later on, your left nozzle, so tool head 0, is my tube, not your tube. I cut the heater wires about 1/2 centimeter short. So I pulled your tube, put in one of my tubes that I had sitting here, and I'll have to deal with the shorter wires later on when I install it somewhere. But for yours, you're good. I've got the heaters wired up to the back of the board, and then I still need to do everything else. And normally I would do all that on the bench, but I can't. When you're doing stuff on a RatRig, you have to build the tool head on the printer because it basically creates a square or a rectangle around the X gantry. So everything's installed on the printer. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to shoot this way. I may take my whole setup here and just kind of rotate it a little bit so I can still look over my shoulder and see chat. But yeah, we're going to go over and continue to play with some wiring. Always fun things to do. And I will probably take my laptop over there because it'll be easier for me to look at the laptop and figure out, okay, which wire is getting plugged in where. And the laptop will tell me that. At a minimum, we're going to have the hot end, the thermistor, the hot end cooling fan, which is a 4010 fan mounted on the front, part cooling fan, which is the 36 whatever mounted in the back. Hey Icarus, how's it going? Welcome on in. And then we don't have runout sensors. And of course, we don't have the filament sensor. So that's the thing with the O2S boards is they've got this little bridge connector that bridges between the O2S board itself and the back of the filament runout sensor. So those are basically not connected to any. We won't have filament runout doing the LGX systems unless we add something else somewhere else. Yeah. So other thing that I could probably do is we'll just show you all some of the stuff that came off of this printer as it stands so far. Custom made cable. We've got our orbiter, probably a 2, maybe a 2.5. I have to really look at it to tell, but this is a standard orbiter. This is the standard extruder of choice with the filament runout sensor. So the smart sensor is nice, but also a pain. Nice in the fact that as soon as it detects filament, it starts to load macros. So it'll heat up, pull the filament through, do the whole 9 yards. One button in the side here, and it starts the unload macro. It'll heat it up, it'll purge a little bit, and then retract the filament. Very nice. I love these. We switched to LGXs. The standard tool head is, or standard tool head. The standard tool head board, once again, would be the EBB here. This is EBB 42. Normally you'd say, why didn't you have a 36? Because that's normally what we see on the back of, the round pancake motors like this. Don't know why this was their stock. It let them keep all of their configs relatively the same as they moved from a 3.1 to here. I was like, why? I sort of get it now. The other thing that we'll have to do is beacon. Still need to mount the beacons up. Got one. I'm trying to remember. I think we only used the one beacon. And I believe this is the makeshift cable, maybe. Oh, I have to find the beacon cable again. Too many weird cables have been added in here to make the setup that was there work. And of course, standard Rapido hot end. Looks like it has a CHT nozzle on it. Had a filament run through it, it looks like. Either that or it's got some paste on it. Maybe we can pull this. See about moving that over to the other one. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it's lots of fun. I do like going to the tube on this. I have plans of potentially getting rid of my Rapido 2s on mine and switching over to tubes, but still keeping the 2.5s. There's one thing in the latest version of the smart sensor on here, though, that I have had all kinds of problems with, and that's the filament runout, or not the filament tangle detection. Okay, the 2.5 version of the smart sensor, it has auto load, it has one button push unload, it also has filament tangle detection. I had to turn that off on mine, and part of that is the way that RatRig routes their PTFE tube. It is extremely you have to be very careful when you route it. There is one place where it wants you to do kind of this S-curve, and it just constrains the filament a bit. So it kind of does throw errors on the filament tangle detection. But with that said, I'm going to put this back here. I've kind of had things laid in this bin in such a way that we can know which screws were used with which. I'll have to resort this stuff back out later. But let me turn the camera, or the bench side camera, around here, and who knows, maybe move it around some as well, and see if we can't get a decent view over on the bench side. Restrictive, yeah, it's the way the path goes. It like comes from the spool, goes up the side up to around where the motor is, and then it has to do a jog around the motor and then come up. It's just really weird. So Store's doing good. We can probably, I'll have to post a picture, but the store's doing good. The store's looking good. We've added some more filaments. So some filaments got moved around. We had kind of that U-shaped island in the center, and that's now got printers in that U-shape because we got a bunch of Max 4s. And I can't get them into the vault without moving a bunch of other stuff out of the way to be able to get the boxes through. So those big boxes are just sitting on the floor. All the smaller ones normally we put into the vault because it's easier to get there. Maintenance is kind of moved right on the other side of this monitor here. So that's where the Corvus is sitting while I finish printing out parts for the skirts, and our stealth changer while we're working on Abitnutz printer. And then we got a Kitty Q2 that came in that's having some weird tool head issues. It's throwing weird errors on the fans. And I'm beginning to think it's a tool board or possibly an MCU issue because looking at the Clippy log, kind of weird. But yeah, it's pretty much, it's still pretty close to the same. The printers on the display line have changed. I have no more bamboos on the display line right now. I've got the 85X, the 85M, a Q2C, a Q2, Kitty Plus 4 that came in as a RMA that Kitty had sent me over to take a look at and see if I can't refurbish it and get it back up and running and then sell it. And then the Max 4. And I was supposed to be getting another Kitty box for a Plus 4 to evaluate that was an RMA. And I got the package in. I sent back to my contact at Kitty saying the Kitty box kind of looks like a Plus 4 because it's a Plus 4. So I don't know what happened there. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. And hey, Brian Guthrie, how's it going? You completely given it up on the orbiter filament sensor. Once again, disable that tangle detection. The auto load and the unload feature work great. If I could still get the old boards, I would get them in a heartbeat. But you can't get the old boards anymore. They've all been upgraded to the new version. And, you know, that tangle detection, you just have to get rid of it because that's the useless part. Or at least in the RatRig. I've had more failures in the RatRig than on anything. How's it going, Abitnutz? So Abitnutz, I will go through and do the little spiel that I did a little bit earlier. The left tool head, the tube on your left tool head, isn't the one that you bought. It's the one I bought. I've had one sitting here that has been destined to go into a printer that I just haven't been willing to take apart to redo the tool head on. I sat here and did up all the crimps and everything for the heater, and I cut them too short. I cut them about 7 or 8 millimeters too short. So I grabbed my tube and said to heck with it and swapped yours out for mine, and I'll take the one with the shorter wires because I can deal with it, and depending on what I put it in, the shorter wires won't affect it. But just the way that the wires come up have to go so far back and then come back around on a RatRig, it made no sense to try and graft in a piece of wire that long to do it. So, am I going to be at Murph? That is the plan. Where am I staying? I don't know. I've been trying to to do the, my plan has been to schedule the hotel. I guess I'm going to do it later tonight because, yeah, the day job is just going nuts. It's IT work. And if you're in IT work, you know what's going on now. Hey, Timor, how's it going? But I will be going to Murph. Is Mrs. Dragon going with me? I believe so. Is Evil Diesel going with me? I don't know. Is one coming and the other? I don't know which one of the two is coming with me. I just know I'm going to be there. Yeah, a lot of things are going on. But that's life. That's life. That's life running a shop too. So I've got the other camera over there. Let me see what the bench side view is. Yeah. So I'll step over here, and as I said, we've got the tube installed. This one has a fully installed tube with the 0.4 CHT nozzle and the titanium heat shield. Okay. This one's not installed yet because we need to get the nozzle installed. Once the nozzle is installed and tightened up, then I can go ahead and put this on. And we've got our LGXs mounted. We'll have to run our other wires back here and make sure that we keep them long enough that we can loop them back there. I will cut these to a more appropriate length. Leave a little bit of room, but cut it down, and then we'll get those mounted up. Other fans and stuff will have to get mounted up, and we'll keep rolling from there. Yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at. Like I said, I did have to, I had these printed out, but I had to move away from these because of the way they mount to the part. The mounting holes are off. This would have gone into the top right mount, which is locked differently on an LGX versus the Orbiter, and they're slightly different heights, so couldn't use these mounts. Hey, Jedi Spidey, how's it going, friend? How are you doing? Are you doing the 4.1 upgrade for any particular reason? First layer cooling, you've not had any of the issues on first layer like many people have experienced, so think you're going to stay at 4.0? Brian, here's the thing. I'm going to 4.1 because this is not my printer. This is a Abitnutz printer. He was kind enough to bring it down to me from Ohio, and I am going to finish building it for him because he was running into just some walls in trying to do it. Partly, I think he has thrown every part that Mandala machines for the RatRig into this build to include the tube mount. So we've got the older style, I believe, 4.0 carriage for a tube, but it will work with the 4.1s, which is why we're going to the O2S boards, because in the 4.1 upgrade, they moved from the EBB 42 boards to the O2S boards. He's also moving from a standard hybrid build to the IDEX build. So yeah, tube, LGX Lite Pro extruders, O2S boards, 4.1, IDEX, into O plate. I'm still going to have to build the VAOC camera setup in the back. Yeah, it's kind of like, I'll say, a 3D printer geek's wet dream. The only way it could be better is if it was a 500 instead of a 400. And I will not let him do that because I don't want to build it. I mean, I do, don't get me wrong, but I don't because moving it is the part that'll suck. Um, Also, we went with, we've swapped the XY motors. The XY motors are Speedy Power high temp motors or at least they were. They have been removed and replaced with Kraken motors. So the motors in the back here are Omnirello Kraken motors. So we will be wiring up these motors along with all 4 of the thermistors for these motors. We're driving all the motors with 1.5 GT 9mm belts. Another choice that Abitnutz made was moving from GT2 to GT 1.5 belts. And there's something else I was. Oh, we're also going to be driving those 4 gantry motors at 48 volts. So, hey, Bearded Printer, welcome in. Thank you for the raid. Beardy, it's been a while. I keep wanting to catch one of your streams, and I am so lost watching everybody's streams ever since the store opened up. I get now why KB3D and some of the others don't stream hardly as much as they did before. Exactly. You would have gotten the 500, but it won't fit through the doorways. Exactly. You had the 500, went with the hybrid from IDEX, and now the thing is just a workhorse. So that's the thing I'll tell you, Brian, is I had when I built my RatRig 300, I believe I was the first one to do videos, at least stateside, on the RatRig V-Core 4 build. And I did a 300 hybrid. So I built that. It was the best input shaping numbers I have ever seen from any of the printer builds I've done. Out of the gate, it was beautiful. And it worked great. Loved it. Then I was like, okay, the IDEX kit's available. I got the IDEX because I've always wanted an IDEX, and I made it an IDEX. And I have had extrusion inconsistencies with the left extruder ever since. I really noticed it when I was trying to print treads for the KB3D Death Racer because we wanted them to be interleaved between orange and black because that's KB3D's colors. And I was finding that anything that I printed with the left nozzle was getting under extrusion. But I took the same filament that, TPU that was completely dry, and I printed with it. Left nozzle was printing like dog doo-doo. I pulled the filaments, swapped the filaments, printed again. The left nozzle, which is now a different color, printed like doo-doo, and the filament that I moved from left to right printed beautifully. So it is something in the left nozzle. I've taken it completely apart. Don't see anything. I've, done everything I can to try and clear any potential clog, and I don't think it's that. I'm thinking what it is a potential power issue. I think there's a brownout happening because the power supply is not strong enough. And I don't know if it's the difference between us being 110 versus 240 or what in the sizing. I noticed that and I would have to check my own, but I noticed that the power supply on this 400 is a Meanwell LRS 250 24. And I'm surprised they went with a 250 versus a 300 or a 350. So that's the next thing I'm going to look at on my personal build when I finally get around to looking at it. Yeah, I didn't forget the NTO graphite bed Abitnutz. Yeah. Yeah. Commercial break in progress. Oh, that, yeah. Interesting. The cool thing is like, here's all of the parts for the 4.1 toolhead upgrades and IDEX and stuff. And like literally, I think the only parts that I'm going to use out of this are the new wires that come. There's a couple of new wires to plumb things to the O2S board. Hey, Tinkering Techie, how's it going? The only issues you've ever had is cooling fans, hot end in part. Had the same issue with my left side, and the root cause was the cooling fan. Upgrade and haven't had an issue. Cooling fan. I mean, my cooling fans are the same. What cooling fan did you upgrade to? There's fasteners on that machine that you haven't seen in years. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of interesting fasteners on the RatRig. You went to the Delta fans? Okay. Well, and I already know I'm going to have at least one issue because the fan that I grabbed out of the 4.1 upgrade set, which I believe is because there was an IDEX upgrade involved, has the smaller like mini JST 4-pin connector, and the other one has a microfit 3 2x2. So yeah, I might see about swapping that fan out if I can find another one that'll fit that's got the connector, because I hate those little frickin' JST connectors. Hey, Down Under Maker, how's it going? But you went to Delta. I wonder, because I think Hector might have those at Fabrico. If he does, I'll have him send me up some. The frame connectors, I will tell you that may be, because I've never seen these Camlock style frame connectors here. Come on. Yeah, I've never seen these connectors stateside. So these have to, I think, are European style, but these are really, really interesting because it's where we've got the thing where you put the screw in and then you turn this around and it kind of has like a C-clamp that clamps on and pulls it tight. These actually, as you screw them in, they've got a pointed screw head in them that draws it in. These are actually a really nice design, and this is a sturdy, beefy frame, even before we added all the extra triangles that I've had to take out because they're in the way. And some of these I'm going to flip around so that the flat edges are on the outside of the frame versus the inside. And I'm going to have to really see about unlocking and turning this around so that I, well, because I think that's probably locked, and I'm be able to pull it around. That might give me a little bit of being able to watch chat while I'm working on this thing. You can go with a thicker fan with very little interference with the front by just increasing the screw length. Yeah, so these have 4010s. You know, their chew bears with 4010 fans should be good. Shouldn't have an issue with those. But let me grab the laptop so that I can look and see where things like thermistors and stuff are supposed to clip in. Or like I think I know, but might want to be sure with some electronic things. I prefer not to let the magic smoke out on somebody else's machine. The nice thing is this one's already got the JST connector on it, and after my other guffaw, I'm going to choose not to cut things shorter just yet. So the thermistor goes in the bottom rightmost. This one is freshly cut, so I will have to terminate that, and might have to make these a little bit smaller, especially since I terminated this one. Cut this one. Probably cut it a little bit shorter. Not too much, just a little bit. I want to get myself in trouble again. And the JST connector. Normally they give you enough JST connectors that you can do this about 1.5 times. So I just grab the one box and go through the connectors, then I'll jump over if I need, or if I need more, I'll jump into the other box. 2-pin. Like I said, I will shorten up the motor wires just because it makes no sense to have the motor wires massively long. So who out there in Chatland has gotten their hands on their Pika? And if you have, one, you lucky dog. Two, what are your impressions of them so far? Because I have seen some people stating that they've got their Pika. I am still waiting on mine to ship. And also, since I have people here, I will throw a plug out there. If you are in the local area, we are having another maker meetup this Saturday, the 16th. And this maker meetup is going to be conducted by a couple of our local folks. That is Lomax, aka Sandhills 3D, and his friend Doug. They're going to be coming in and doing RC boats, cars, bots, you know, and Lomax has been working on a kind of an old style rat rod type truck based off of the motor end of the Top Fuel dragster. So that'll be pretty cool. think I saw some new people pop in, so give me a second and I will come back where I can read chat, because I'll be honest with you, I got old man eyes and I need to get a little bit closer to read the chat some. So we're a little bit long on some of these wires, but right now I'd rather be a little bit long than a little bit short again. Pika, P-I-K-A. The Pika is from Luke's lab. It is a high flow nozzle that was originally being designed for the P1X1 ecosystem, which means it would also drop in very easily into the Jabberwocky and Stealth Burner and anything else that is using that style of hot end. I will say that there is also a version out there for the Elegoo Centauri carbons. I know because I have one that I was beta testing. So, and they are very good. That's why I can't wait until I get my P1X ones. Can't make it on Saturday. It's the wife's birthday. You're going out to a nice lunch in the early. Yep, I remember that, Tinkering Techie. And I believe I also remember saying wife takes precedence. As in, don't make the wifey mad. And whatever you do, don't point the finger at me when you make wifey mad. Not my fault. X-axis in stop goes on the 2-pin connection above the thermistor. So I thought I had brought the wires over here already. This great. I gotta go find the wires. I thought I pulled the wire. Oh. Fasteners. This box. Pre-made cables out. What did I do with those little pre-made cables? Put them back over here when I move this over. They have. It'd be really bad if I actually took them out and then put them back in the box, which I could really see myself doing. Nope, there they are right there. Haha. And this is kind of what we were looking at, right? So there's in-stop wires, the in-stop wire, and then this will be for the whatchamacallit, the beacon probe. That's what I was looking for. Hey, Westery, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, sis. Hope you're doing well. So we've got a couple of different wires. So this side says end stop. It's a 3-pin connector with 2 wires in it. The other side is a 2-wire piece. And the one lone wire would be the version that goes on the right side, which would be the IDEX part. And that will go there. See, it's come around. And once again, it's going to go above that connector. Pretty tight. The one around under. If it goes under there, over there. Do the under over. Seriously. Can't tell. Did they seriously both those in the downward? A little bit with work and stuff like that, but it's Pika at about 90, or Pika is expensive at about $90, but the E3D 500 Obsidian high flow is 120 plus. Exactly. Brian, yes, this is the steel gantry beam with the Mandala Roseworks XYs. And I will tell you, head in here real fast. Did. Put it out here in a second. The XY joiners, because the steel bar kind of puts them, the steel bar and the X ends, or the X end stops are a couple of millimeters taller. So you do have to swap out. Let me see if I can move these over and show you. This portion right here gets swapped out with 12 millimeter versions. You're going from 10 to 12 millimeters. It's very, very minor, but it's needed so that these are hitting in the right spot. Otherwise, they don't hit, and you're going to have crashes. Something just fell. So end stop in on the right tool head. We'll do the end stop over here on the other tool head. Mia got a new little oh, you better send me pictures. You better send me pictures. Once again, we're going to have the end stop and the orbital side. The orbital side goes like this, so your locking tabs are facing down, which is right on top of the connector below it, which is in the same orientation. So that's going to be great later on when we go to, you know, ever try and take those off. about that something later. Yep, connect the exit stop in. Shooter stepper motor connector. Okay, so this is the one that goes on the side. It's on this side of the board. And this is the one where we're going to basically bring this around, make it a shorter one, and we'll have to repin this 4-pin. So Abitnutz. Do you want a good amount of excess wire, or are you ever planning on not having this run to a tool board? Because I can make this pretty short like that, or I can give it a loop or two if you want, and that gives you the ability to use it somewhere else or with a non-tool head board without having to extend motors. I'll give it a second to give you a chance to let me know what you want me to do there. You'll text them to me? Okay, appreciate it, sis. Meanwhile, I will scoot this around and just kind of give you a pan. So there's the +4 that just came in yesterday. This is an RMA that we're going to look at and then try and get sold. This is a Q2 that we sold that came back that's having a weird tool head board issue. Titan 3D Millennium Falcon print going on. And the Boron style, I think it's Corvus PC. Beautiful looking stealth changer. And then we're back to the RatRig. You'll seriously doubt I'll mess with it after you run it. You just want it to work. Okay, we'll make it work. Hey, Liz, how's it going? It is Luke. Yes, it is Luke. How's it going, Liz? It's been a bit. I know. It has been a little bit. I'll just say I've been burning some midnight oil a lot, and my wife's been a little worried about that and stuff. So I'm going to try and start taking it a little bit easier. And so we might have to rethink streaming times and stuff like that, but we'll see. For now, I'm just trying to look forward to Midwest RepRat Festival and, you know, getting it on. Max peak current 1 amp. Good to know. Now that we've snipped that, I will use this end as we crimp this. So Liz and folks that are coming here, I'm a little bit away from the chat window over there. So if I don't answer you right away, please do not take offense. I am not trying to blow you off. I just have, you know, 54-year-old bifocal eyes and can't see all that well anymore. But I am looking forward to seeing everybody at Midwest RepRat Festival if you're going. I hear that, you know, I have to go through Ohio to get there. Might be a good time to deliver something, but we'll see. I don't know if I can get it in the car. I'll have to see. but that would save somebody on having to drive back here. You went to the Montreal Manufacturing Technology Show today. Nice. We can end a war and you can come back to chat. Yeah. Yeah, I wish it was just that, but it's, you know, it's the day job that helps pay for me to have this store, and then, you know, having the store and running the store and having to work project stuff later at night as well. So there's times where I'm working on project stuff and I can show it off. And then there's other times when I'm working on project stuff and I cannot show it off. So but yeah, we've had lots of repairs coming through, lots of new customers, new faces, so that's good. We're still getting new customers. So we still have people finding out that we're here and enjoying the fact that they now have a closer option that doesn't involve, you know, going to Amazon or Best Buy and buying online and hoping and praying. But I've been doing a little bit of work on this here and there throughout the day. If I have times between meetings, I'm frustrated. I come out here, try and get my head clear, and before going back into the next meeting. And for Primp, let me look at chat. Yeah, gotta love the day jobs. Yep. Right, Abitnutz sounds good. Yeah, so the other thing is this has, so we've got the original extrusion that still has that linear rail on it. We've got the steel bar or steel gantry with the linear rail on it. And he also has the titanium gantry that would just need to have a rail put on it. But he does have the titanium gantry. So that's where I'm saying, like, he really had, like, if you want it, you can have it type setup on here. And of course, I'm looking at it going, oh, that would be great. I don't have a 400, I have a 300. Otherwise, I'd be like, hey. So we've got green. And I'm just keeping the existing, or, keeping to the existing wiring pattern that was there. And go for the love of God. I did. No, I got it in the right. Looking at the wrong. Ooh, there's going to be a comment that was. Had the right size, was looking at the wrong hole. Excuse me, wrong connector. There we go. So that connector is now connected to the proper place on the tool head board. This one around, same type of thing. We'll find our length. Give it a little snippy snip. And then we'll work on redoing this wiring. Hey LTX, how's it going? Welcome in. Yep, build is looking good. I haven't cut the belts to size yet, or trimmed them down to size yet. We're going to do that. We're just working on tool head wiring right now. There's still a couple of these that I may trim down a little bit later on. I'm just making sure that everything connects right now, and stuff like that. The things, like 5 feet of wire for the 3 feet of wire for a tool head. Yeah, we don't need that, so we'll go ahead and we'll get rid of that. But I've already made the mistake of cutting the heater wire too short on one of them and having to swap a tube hot end out for one of mine that was still new in box so that I could get this up and running. And I'm fine with that because the anticipated printer that I'm going to put that on, it should work fine for me. But measure once, or measure twice, 3 times, 4 times, cut once, folks. Because once you cut wires, it becomes a pain to make them longer again. We also got a new toy to play with today, and I'm trying to work through it right now. It's a Einstar rocket. So we got a Einstar rocket. I did a couple of scans and got everything lined up, told it to do the final mesh, and it keeps shutting down on my laptop. So got to see about jumping it over to the desktop and seeing if it's an issue with the Mac version of the software versus the Windows version of the software. We shall see. But we got a few projects we're working on where a scanner would make life a lot easier. So we went ahead and got ourselves a scanner. some point we'll have a 600 cube build volume printer come in. And then I'm really going to pick LTX's brain on how he set up his for production runs. Between him and Hector, they should be able to steer me in something that looks like the right direction. Or at least keep me from going in the wrong direction. As soon as I get these last two crimped, I'll come over there and try and read some chat. Now, Liz, you're still going to Murph, correct? Hey, Martin, how's it going? Welcome on in. Okay, sis, we definitely have to call and like physically talk a little bit. What do I think about the latest bamboo craziness? Apparently, they like to sue people. I have not fully read into that yet. Meaning, I understand that there's a kerfuffle coming on with a cease and desist. But I haven't read into it. I believe it sounded initially like it was a cease and desist against Orca directly, and it wasn't. It was against somebody doing a fork. And that's about as much as I know about it. So it's something I really need to read up on, but like I said, I've been dealing with some other stuff in various meetings that have just been going crazy. So yeah. But if a company has a patent and they enforce their patent, that is their legal right. The issue comes when companies like, say, Stratasys choose for a rather long period of time not to enforce their patent, and then all of a sudden come out and be like, hey, you owe us money, right? And start litigating people, because what they're doing there is they're waiting for you to get some market share and some pocket size, and then they want to come out and go after your pocketbook. And to me, that's where it gets really wonky, and I kind of get mad that our legal system lets them get away with it. Because it very much so says if you are not enforcing your patent, that it becomes null and void. You don't get to start enforcing it, 15 years later or 5 years later if somebody's been infringing on you for that long, unless you can show beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were not aware that they were infringing on your patent. I think what we're seeing is them trying to basically wait until it's lucrative, and then they go out and say, oh, we're going to enforce our patent now. And that, to me, is a crock. Okay, so we've got motors installed for extruder stepper motor. Okay, the 4028 part cooling fan connector, 2048 part cooling fan connector comes up here. What in the ever-loving bejesus? All right, sir, you're killing me. So this one has a Microfit 3 2x2 connector. This one has, I think it's a JST ZH connector. Yep. They go into a standard 4-pin JST connector. So we're going to have to work on that. Where does the tool head part? 42 fan. Yeah. 4010 cooling fan goes into a 3-pin connector instead of the 2-pin. Well, at least that's easy enough. We just take the 2-pin off and we put it into a 3-pin. Bring that around. Join that right there. So we'll do that part. The other two I'm going to wait on. And I may look at, after listening to comments from Brian, we may look at swapping these 4020 fans or 4028 fans or whatever they are out for some deltas. If that's going to be a known issue. And either way, I would have to double check the pinout, make sure that it's right, because like I said, neither one have the right connector on the end. So I would have to do a connector swap out regardless. Sure what a big garbage truck is rolling around in the night before, but on. One done. Now let's do the other side. I'll just pull these closer so I can get to the other one. So we'll just depin, put it into a different connector, and here we go. And by the way, the instructions literally tell you to build one tool head and then go and do the other tool head. I just do them both at the same time because they're going to be wired up exactly the same. The only difference is one will get the whatchamacallit, one will wind up getting the beacon probe, the other one won't. That's the difference. Okay, we'll tuck that in. These two will come up. What else? Beacon sensor. Okay, mark connector on the orbital toolboard. Beacon sensor connector. Beacon sensor connector be this pin, this pin-out cable. Go right there. Remember, right, this has to come up through middle gap now. Please, please, please go up there without me having. Well, the good news is I should be able to get it up there by just taking the fan out, which I do anyhow. So we're going to take the fan out so that we can route the wire up. The wire goes up between the sensor back here, in between the fan and the back side of the toolboard. So we'll have to route that. There is a bit of a gap, and we'll have to route the wire up through that gap. It's just not going to be easy probably for me to do that because it's going to want to move around. But we'll be able to do that by taking the fan off. Yeah, we'll just take the fan off, make our lives easier to do that. And I think that's probably where we're going to call it for the night. Because, like I said, I am trying to keep it a little bit I needs my sleep. We'll put it that way. I needs my sleep. Get weird extrusion issues that are pretty consistent on longer runs. Then always start with the cooling fans first. Been burnt too many times. Okay. You learn that a RatRig takes it to another level for the reduction in wallet thickness. Oh, God, yes. Yes, it does. I actually bought one of the RatRig benches to put my 300 size on. Great bench. Great bench. Wallet, yes. Wallet felt it. Of course, the rolling bench that I have this on wasn't inexpensive either. Who on God's magenta earth names their printer the Abitnutz RatRig? Hey, Burn Monument. How's it going? That is some preposterous behavior. That disconnected, then reconnected. Interesting. Wonder if my internet provider just blipped me again. But yes, the Abitnutz RatRig is named after Abitnutz, who is in our chat over on the YouTube side of things. So Abitnutz reached out to me and asked if I'd be willing to take on finishing his RatRig build for him. And I agreed. Sorry. So the rundown is RatRig 400. We're moving it from a V-Core 4 to a V-Core 4.1. But that also entails and includes an aluminum deck panel versus the steel deck panel. Z pillow plates for the Z motors from Mandala Roseworks. The Z bed arms from Mandala Roseworks. The Z mini Oldham couplers from Mandala Roseworks. The the gantry mounts, the motor mounts, and the XY joints from Mandala Roseworks. We swapped the standard Speedy Power motors, LDO Speedy Power high temps, out and replaced them with Kraken motors for the XY motors on the gantry. That will give us the thermistors in the motors as well. This is also being made into an IDEX with tube hot ends, LGX Lite Pro extruders, the standard O2S boards that are part of the 4.1 upgrade. The standard build plate is being replaced with a N2O graphite 10mm thick bed. And we're going to swap the Meanwell LRS 200 or 250 24 power supply out and run a UHP 350 48 and UHP 350 24 volt. So the Kraken motors are going to run on 5160s at 48 volts. So yeah, we got a lot going on this build. A lot going on this build. And we're just starting to get into the fun part, which will be the wiring and then the configuration. You resemble that remark? Yep. Exactly. So I'll say this. What's worse than the Abitnutz RatRig? The guy that Abitnutz talked into finishing the build of the RatRig and having to unbuild and rebuild the gantry so that he can swap the motors out, swap the GT2 belts out for GT 1.5 belts and tooth pulleys, rebuild the tool heads, and replace the stock orbiter and Rapido with the tubes and the LGXs and all that good stuff. So, yeah. But yeah, folks, that's about it. I'm going to need to get home, relax a little bit, get some sleep. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll probably do some shorter streams, but like I said, we're into the interesting stuff with the wiring and everything. So you used to sell aluminum siding before you got your PhD. There you go. But once again, thank you everybody for being here. It's Tuesday night. It's 9:30-ish. So can anybody tell me, is Big Jano streaming yet? Hey, Tinkering Techie. Yeah, I'm going to go get some rest. Get some rest. Definitely. Is Big Jano up and running over in Twitch land? Armor 3D is streaming on YouTube. Okay. I do not know how to do like a raid or a pushover on YouTube. Does anybody know how to do that? Because I do not. I will probably go home and jump on Armored Stream for a short bit and listen. But let me check real fast and just see if Jano, well, Zombie's up and running. That late? Only 9:30. All right, let's, for the Twitch goers, I'm going to jump over to Zombie Hedgehog. For the YouTube followers, if we both follow each other, it should be there. But how do I jump over? That's the problem. Like, is it still like a raid command? Don't know if that works. But regardless, Twitch folks, we're going to jump over and raid Zombie Hedgehog. Over on YouTube, I will try and figure out how, with my dual streaming setup, I can jump over to other people in the near future. But thank you, everybody, for being here. You all are great. And I will see you guys hopefully Thursday night. If something pops up, I will try and post on X if something popped up and I'm not going to make it. But see you all soon. Take care. Bye now.